Excellent. Brilliant stuff. So welcome everyone to the positive impact of agriculture on our ecosystem. We're joined today by Anja Wagner, Franz Grotschel. Sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciations. Matthew Slaughter, and of course Alexander Klumper. I'll let Anja and Matthew take it away at the start. Just say a few words about yourselves and sort of what we're intending to achieve from this particular presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, for the introduction. So we're coming here together, and also this is the main intent is to give farmers a room to speak up. And that is where I'm coming from a health perspective. Firstly, from a human perspective, that where my background is in nutrition science, and they're coming to the conclusion that we need to work together with our farmers if we really want to get healthy food. And there are, of course, other advantages in improving the quality and the health of our soils and the quality and the health of our farms in this world. And I've got in contact with Alexander, for example, like France, and they really inspired me. They're doing great things. And Matthew as well, he's working with farmers for almost 2 decades. And yeah, I just want to impulse here a conversation and inspire other people as well to maybe get more in contact with farmers and hearing what they say and what they can do, and having a sense of the impact on our ecosystem as well, and recovering our climate, or however we want to phrase it. And whoever wants to speak first, Alexander or Matthew, I would give them the speech to one of you. Alex, do you want to come up first? What you want to say about what your experience is on your farm, and what you see, what you have done, and what you see is the impact of farmers, and how you can be supported, you as the farmer itself, and of course for the farmers community.
Well, so I start very quick. I'm a no-till farmer in Eastern Germany. So we are not plowing since 30 years and not doing any tillage since now 6-7 years. That means we are not moving the soil. When we do the seeding, we just make a very little slot, and the biology is not getting disturbed. Has many little advantages. Over the time, we need less and less fertilizer. We need less and less pesticides over the time. So a few friends of mine who's doing those things like 5-10 years already longer, they are almost organic. They don't need almost any insecticides, very, very low in fungicides, let's say 10% of what's usual. I'm not there yet, but I'm on the way. And let's say in total, we need like 30% less fertilizer. That's where we are already, and still going ahead with other steps, forcing, looking more on the soil biology. The biggest problem, at least what I can say right now in Germany, is we have a total over-regulation. We need to fill out so many forms. In the end, only different calculations just for the government for nitrogen just takes us 2 days per year only for nitrogen, and there's other things on top. And in the end, we get to have a paper that we can throw away because we cannot use it for anything. Because this calculations from a farm perspective are even shitty, to be honest, to say it how it is. And every 3 months, we get another regulation on top. So there's never one missing, always on top, on top, on top, on top. And it's not really leading to any goal. It's just annoying. And so I'm in contact with plenty innovative farmers in many countries, of course, mainly in Germany. And from I would say 70–80% of the innovators farmers in Germany are thinking about leaving Europe, at least thinking about. If they will do, you never know, but I think that's quite heavy, what's going on in this perspective. Yeah, something else I would like to say is, so with a no-till we have plenty advantages, but already reducing the tillage. So let's say if we use a cultivator instead of a plow, that already helps that we keep the carbon in the soil, that we use less fuel, that this whole system is running a bit better. So every time, now I will say this, the bad word, glyphosate. Every time when we can use a glyphosate to kill off the old weeds, the old crops that should not be there, instead of doing it in a mechanical way with a tillage, helps us to have less soil erosion, less nitrate, use less chemicals, have a more stable soil, and yeah, get or keep carbon in the soil. So no matter if we are organic or conventional, every time when we do less tillage, it helps us. And yeah, our government tries us to force exactly the other direction. That's pretty much it for now.
Yeah, what's inspiring for me to hear is that it needs help from politics as well. That's the support I hear from you. You need politics on your side for the right circumstances on the farm to do the right things. And I would now get to Matt, if you want to join here at this point, and also yeah, give your perspective on this topic.
It's this is a big topic for half an hour, so thanks for bearing with us here. So my name is Matthew Slaughter. I run a company called Earth Fort in Oregon on the west coast of the United States, and I work with farmers basically all over the world, implementing strategies to manage the microbiology in the soil. So we run a laboratory. We do soil testing. I've been doing this since 2003. The professor who started the lab was even before that. A lot of the research comes out of Colorado State from the 80s. So this is an approach that has been called a lot of things: neutrobuntere, biological farming, natural farming, beyond organic farming, all kinds of different things. Regenerative farming is now a very popular term, but it's really, our emphasis is just specifically managing the microbiology to help the farmer, first of all, better understand the function of the soil, so that when somebody tells them to go to no-till, that's a fine thing to say, or to reduce tilling, but to really get into the why of it. What's going on under the soil that you can't see, the fungi, the bacteria, all these interactions, and how they relate to not only the soil health itself, but the plant health, the animal health, and the ecosystem services. So, a healthy soil, a healthy functional soil holds more carbon, cleans water. So the water cycle is involved. The air cycle, as you reduce the tillage and you're not blowing off your topsoil, that reduces atmospheric particulate matter. So it's another way to hang on to your carbon, and it becomes a living system. So we're really trying to implement natural processes, holistic natural processes on the farm. Now it's challenging. I won't lie. It's really hard. There's a lot of changes that we ask the farmers to do. There's a lot of new things that they have to learn in implementation. And I know Alex has talked about this a lot, that each and every farmer is a unique proposition. You can't just make a rule and overlay it on a farm and say, here you go, this is what you do. You do no-till, or you do a cover crop, or you stop using glyphosate, or or this or that, or you do composting, or you don't do composting, or you run animals. It's like all of those things are legitimate. All of the practices are legitimate. Permaculture practices, regenerative practices, grazing practices. So the challenge is, for me, being where I am, is collecting all of these things and then really helping the farmer focus in on how to implement it. So, you know, the way I work with the farmers in Haiti is very different than the way I work with corn grower in Iowa, you know, and so our approach is principle-based, open-minded, and integrative, and try and bring in all these things. And then also to the point of regulatory issues, you know, how do you do these things and stay within the framework of your regulatory constraints? You know, so a lot of challenges, you know, but we have lots of experience to help people implement these things. And for me, the exciting part is the timing is great on this, because we've developed some new testing protocols that will allow a farmer to do real-time field testing of the soil microbiology and a few of the key factors that will influence the function of those things, and to be able to know quickly how well their soil is functioning. There's been a lot of soil health testing done over the years, but a lot of it requires laboratory. You know, in the past, everything had to come to the lab. Sending things from Europe to America is a tricky proposition. Again, regulatory constraints, and we're trying to measure life, so time is of the essence. So we're developing these field labs that we're working with Anya and some of the other folks there in Germany, in the EU, to develop these field labs, provide the training, the knowledge, and a system that people can log into and get the information they need to help them with that aspect of it. And very low cost. I mean, the infrastructure component and the cost of materials is pretty nominal compared to some other types of testing. So, and you know, it's under development, so don't get incredibly excited, but it will be coming to Europe probably in the spring. We'll start doing trials, and I'm working on building a database system to support it, so that basically the field kit, all you requires is the cell phone to do the testing, and then you can get the results instantly based on submitting the information through a cell phone. And also recommendations. So that's the other thing that we're working on, is I've developed some products that help people with their soil properties that will help influence and support the microbiology. So those are products that we're trying to get into Europe, but also I just started a new project in Kenya to bring these products and services into Africa through Kenya. And so there'll be Earth Fort Africa is opening probably by the end of next year, at least that's the goal. So, and then Earth Fort Europe will be online, probably hopefully in the spring, we'll start doing some stuff. That's the goal. Anyways, the whole point being that, you know, providing the services, being holistic in the perspective and integrative. Nobody has all the answers to all of these problems, to these big problems. And, you know, farming is the foundation of our economy. And unless and until farmers become the wealthiest people in the world, nothing will work, right? So let's get the farmers wealthy, right? Alex, Franz, you guys should be the richest guy in the room, right? You have the land, you're feeding the people, right? So let's change some of that and make it work better. So that's all I have to say at this point. Leave it to you, back to you, Anya.
Well, thanks for that, Matt. Yeah, always inspiring to hear, also to broaden the perspective on climate and how agriculture can influence, yeah, like everything. And that it's the base of the stability of our societies, and that I think we should worth it more, the Beruf, the worth of the work of the farmer. And Alex, if you want to say again something on what do you need? What is the right support from your perspective as a farmer?
Well, good question. As already said before, the first what we really need is less restrictions or regulations. I mean, of course, there have to be some regulations, but the ones we're having are really not efficient and only take our time and make it difficult really to be innovative and try new things. Or let's just say for a regular tilling farm, it makes sense that over the winter, or let's say right now, it is not allowed to put manure on your field. In a no-till situation on a cover crop, it would make absolutely sense to do it now and not in 3 months when it is allowed again. Because now it's cold, we're not losing things through the air, would get into the ground with the earthworms and so on, and all these little critters that are tearing it down. But we're just not allowed to. And that's a point I forgot before, but good that Matt mentioned it. I have already 15 different soil types on my farm, which I'm acting a little bit different on each soil type. And if I would be very exact, I even have 3 different climates. So how you want to do a regulation for the whole EU or even for Germany or only for the state where I'm in, that's just not possible. That's just not working. We really need more freedom. Those laws, they have to be more flexible. But yeah, how to reach that? They will not listen to us, I guess. Yeah, as well, we need the research that Matt is doing. We need more support in the education system for the farmers as well. It's very old school. There's some good what's the professor who's speaking. Some are good, but many are really very old school. And yeah, it's a bit sad. We have almost all the solutions. I mean, we can make the nitrogen circle better. We can make the carbon circle better. The water circle. So many things. We can increase the efficiency of the phosphate dramatically. All the other fertilizers. So many things, but they make it hard for us to do it. That's pretty much it.
But it's the intention here to find people and to find the open ears to make it easier, probably over time. That's so I'm very grateful for you speaking up, Alexander, on that. And yeah, we have also Karen here. Like she's a scientist, and I don't know which else is in the room, which position they're in, or which context they have, where every one of us can reach something and have their own network, and they can go on them and tell them there are ways to support our farmers. So there's no secrets in there. And I think we have all do our own contribution to that and where we are and which kind of circumstances we are in. All right, Karen, she lost her voice. It's all right, you're there. That's important to know, yeah. Anyway, we're almost in on half an hour. So I think we made some important points. So the farmers have the solutions. That's also the video channel, the YouTube channel that was coming up during this process and contributing here to Springfield Agri is the YouTube channel Farmers Speaking Up. So it was also impulsed by Robert Wild, a farmer of Germany, and Alexander contributed to it, Franz Kreutzl contributed, and many other farmers. So the farmers out there, they need the support of us, of citizens, of politics. They need the support of scientists. And I think over time, a lot of things can be achieved, however you want to frame it. And Matt, if you want to say something for Alexander, then feel free, but maybe it's also the time to open the discussion if anyone of the people here. Okay, Gary lifts his finger.
Hi. I'm Jerry Sutcliffe I'm chairman of Springfield Agri. My background is a politician. I was a member of parliament in the UK Parliament from 1994 to 2015. And I've come to this issue later in life, but understand the value and the need for farmers to be recognised in terms of support, whether that be education and training, financial support. Obviously, as the UK has left the European Union, we have some freedom on our legislation. But I pick the point that Alex makes, that it's difficult in each area of different countries and in the world, that legislation can cause problems. And there's a need for politicians to understand farmers. And one of the things that we're trying to achieve through Springfield Agri is that discussion and negotiation between farmers and politicians to make sure politicians understand the need for farmers to be able to do what is right around regenerative farming, or whatever term we want to call it, to make sure that you know, the carbon goals and the quality of food are met by you know, farmers for our society.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Thank you for speaking up on that. Yeah. All right, does anyone else wants to join on that thought? And Gary, maybe on how
Well,
to continue the connection.
Just to add that, you know, for politicians, as a member of parliament dealing with lots of different issues, I think that we need to find a way to make sure that there is strong dialogue between farmers and local politicians, starting off in cities and regions, to make sure they understand the need for change and the positive things that are happening. And listening to Alex and Matthew, what it inspires me is the amount of good practice that's taking place across the world, that we ought to be able to try exchange and understand, you know, what's happening, so that we can feed into the political cycles and things like that, to make sure that there is change that's going to come quickly. And as has been said, the time is now.
Nicely put. Nicely put. Thanks for the contribution here, Gary. Anyone else here who wants to speak up and say something on?
Oh, Gary, how do we make the politicians listen to us? Because I feel a bit like we're trying a lot and we're still getting ignored, or the guys that are yelling the loudest, let's say Friday for Future, or even in the farmer circle, the ones that are saying, no, we want to keep everything as it is, because that's our Deutscher Bauernverband, our farmers main association. They always try to keep things exactly like they are, and those are the ones who's talking with the politicians. What's your idea on that?
Yes, I fully recognise that, and probably have been guilty of myself in the past of listening to big organisations. And that's where I think that we need to speak to multinational companies. We need to speak to others. And under, you know, climate change and the issues around COP26, the opportunity is going to be there. At Springfield, we've developed local discussions with local authorities in our area about quality of food, about regeneration. We're speaking to members of parliament, and I think it's that network that we need to bring together. You know, farmers can't do it on their own. They need to be supported by networks who can show good practice, who can show that there's profitability. I mean, it's sometimes seen as a dirty word, but you know, farmers need to make profits. As Matthew said, farmers need to be in a position where they're making money with the things that they're doing. So through the UN and through other bodies, if you can show you know, things are positive, then I'm sure that we can find ways of doing that. And I think this is a starting point. It may be argued it's a very late starting point, but at least organisations like ourselves and discussions are taking place now that we're trying to influence very quickly. Because I think the politicians realise that there does need to be some new solutions. It cannot carry on in the same old way.
Okay, that sounds good. Hope we can start with this, because I think the big companies don't really have an interest, because I already recognize I don't get invited anymore to any of the 3 holidays is travels what they do, because I buy half as often a new machine, what is very good for the environment as well. It doesn't have to be produced, less fertilizer, less diesel, so on. Who wants to invite me? I don't spend any money anymore. And the big companies, they see the same, and they cannot sell me too much expensive stuff in a can, you know. Another thing, another topic what I wanted to mention quick about the research is there's a problem as well, because how do the universities and the research, where comes the money from? Usually it's some big companies that are saying, please do this and that research for me. I was talking with some universities and telling them like, hey, if you want to do this or that research about multi-tillage, about this, about that, you can come to my farm. You can count how many insects we have. You can count how many earthworms we have, or water infiltration, and so on. And from the university where I was 20 years ago, we have one professor. He's very interested in it. He's totally down to this topic, but he says like, yeah, how should I do? Who is paying it? Yeah. There's no pool for those things, and that's very sad too. Yeah, I guess now I have all the points that.
Yeah. But in Germany, do you get any recompense for carbon capture? Do you get? Is there a new system looking at the measurement of carbon in the soil in Germany? You know, because as Matthew says, in different countries around the world, there are different ways of dealing with this. But one of the things that's happening in the UK is that the government is looking at trying to give farmers money for carbon capture, and obviously to be able to, through carbon credits, be able to move forward on that. So again, it depends on which area of the world that we're living in, but there are solutions to these things. And research and education, the average age of a farmer in the UK is 61. And so we need younger farmers to be coming through and need to be educated and trained in the new ways and the regenerative ways of farming. So again, we're talking to government about how you fund education projects for farmers.
So about the carbon capture, it's as well as the farmer has the work, the farmer has the risk, and the certifier makes the money. That's how it is. I mean, last time I was checking it is maybe like 1-2 years ago, but till that point it was like this. And then I said, like, really forget it. When I have the work and the risk, I need to have the biggest piece of the cake, and not those, I like to call them parasites, because in the end, they try to make something here and there and get it, and yeah. There's no work.
Matt, do you want to give some perspective on carbon capturing, or if you want?
So that in and of itself is a whole conference for years and years to come. If anybody could agree on a way to measure the carbon, it'd be helpful. So we know what we're doing, and also the value of it, and also the volatility, understanding, you know, if it's cycling, how good is it? How sound is the carbon cycle? So I think just saying we're putting carbon in the dirt is not enough to really understand the carbon cycle and its impact on the climate. So our new testing, one of the things about our new testing is that we're looking at carbon content from the living micro perspective. What is the life itself doing with carbon and nitrogen in the soil as far as the actual microorganisms? And I think that over time that will help us understand a little bit better about what's going on, the volatility and the sink that we might be creating from a living perspective, not just from not pulling coal out of the ground is also a good step in keeping carbon where it belongs. And oil, right? I mean, really think about where's all this carbon coming from, and can we realistically keep it in the soil at a level that makes sense? I think it's part of the solution, but it is not the solution by any stretch. So keep up the good work, keep the carbon in the ground best you can. That's where these no-till practices really help, and also reduces erosion. But other than that, just yeah, don't get too hung up on carbon. Just an opinion.
Yeah, thank you for broadening broadening the perspective again. That climate is not about carbon in itself. There's so much more to it. Yeah, the farmers are the ones with, looking at the land who can influence the climate in itself, of stabilizing micro ecosystem, for stabilizing the macro ecosystem. That's how I see it. And so yeah, let's work with the farmers. I think we are in contact with the right people here as well at Springfield Agri and whoever joined. And yeah, over time, let's work together. Gary, thank you for speaking up, and let's see what we can do with the connection that was formed. There are also other people in the room, so I think Alex and Ben, you have the contacts maybe as well, and let's see what will evolve from our conversation here in exchanging ideas and perspectives. All right, looking at time, we have some time, so whoever wants to give something in, I will give you the room as well, Franz. If you want to say something, I will support you as best as I can, but you don't have to. Did you hear me? Franz, hast du mich gehört? Falls du was sagen möchtest, kannst du es, musst du aber nicht.
Ja, ich weiß nicht, was ich sagen soll, nachdem wir die anderen nicht verstehen.
Ja, so what, ich kann ja was sagen, ich habe dich ja gehört. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from Franz as well is like what Matt and Alex also contributed here is it needs an individual approach to farming. And he wants more freedom on his farm as well. He knows what is to do, but yeah, he needs the freedom to do the right thing. And yeah, just giving Franz voice here as well. In the room, is anyone else here who wants to contribute?
Oh, sorry. I thought I might just ask a question in light of some of the conversations we've been having at COP. Yeah. So one of the big things that has come up a lot is people asking about the different aspects of regenerative agriculture. Sorry, I missed a bit of the presentation because I was just seeing somebody. But I was wondering what perhaps Alex or Franz might have to say about water retention and particularly about root systems in the soil.
I did not understand correctly. Water something?
I think water retention, yeah, and the roots in the soil, how the contribution.
Anja, can you translate that quick?
Water retention. I think Wasserhaltefähigkeit.
So how much the soil can keep the amount of water. So as well as I know, and from some old research, what is done in South America from Rolf Deab, she's a friend of mine, like with every % more of soil organic matter, you're capturing like 20, 30 millimeters of water, also 20 to 30 liters per square meter, or 1 inch in the American way. That already helps. What I've seen is because we have a better infiltration, like we're in a pretty dry area, the water goes quicker into the soil and we're not losing as much. When we do lots of tillage, the water stays in the upper few centimeters and then it's transpirating or evaporating quicker. So we're losing more water. And this as well helps us with the whole climate and the water circle, because in that moment when we're having a drought, we still have some water there and the plants can still cool the area. And when we're just thinking this on a big scale, if many farmers are working this way, yeah, we can change the climate positively in a local way, maybe even globally.
Yeah, and interesting part to see it is how fixing the water cycle is like what can it fix after that. So, and that's really yeah, like from what I hear, that's really something where where farmers can have a big influence.
Yeah, and the roots were the second question, I think. Yeah, we just see because the earthworms, we're not disturbing them, and they still find their food on the surface. When you do the tillage, you bury it, and they have it pretty hard to find their lunch. They go way deeper in the soil, and the roots like to follow this tunnels. So we can go a bit deeper and have more water available.
Working with almond and citrus in the Southern California region where they're having extreme drought. The farmers that we work with adopting a biological regenerative approach to the orchards, they're seeing 20 to 30% reduction in water consumption and still maintaining their yield. And the roots are going deeper, and the water that's coming off the farm is cleaner than what it went in. So the impact of fixing the soil function of cleaning water and holding on to it has a ripple effect, like way beyond just the farm. What happens to the aquifers and what happens to the streams and rivers from that space. So, and in the process, they reduce the disease on the farm because they're watering less, and so the trees aren't wet which precipitates the disease on the bark and things like that. So they're seeing a significant reduction in the disease without having to use more chemicals. So, and these are hybrid systems. These are not organic. These are the combination of techniques and IPM practices, integrated pest management. So, one thing about the way we approach it is you can fix these problems in any system, and you can address these issues whether you're organic or not. It's all about efficiency and reduction and developing and getting those systems working again. Right now, a lot of our farm systems just don't function properly. So that's why we need chemicals and things like that to grow food. If you get them functioning correctly, then the water cycle, for me personally, the water cycle is the most important aspect of the whole issue. The biggest problem with the climate is not carbon or any of that. It's the water quality of the oceans and what the carbon is doing to the oceans and the pollution there. That is probably the bigger, more significant aspect of the climate that I know people are looking at that, and that's great, but we can do our part on the farm right at that point of contact when the rain or irrigation water hits the soil, let it do its job, and that'll help a lot in the long run. So.
Important message, yeah. Thank you, Matt. And yeah, looking out for the water cycle and step back a little bit from the carbon, the focus on carbon the intent to control it. And yeah, I think that reflection might help all of us a lot. That's my opinion on that. Yeah. All right.